everybody. All right, let me set up this little intro. Good evening to everybody. The members of Club Atlantis are back together on this Labor Day weekend, and we're going to discuss all of the wrestling that went down this weekend. We're going to talk about Clash of the Castle, Worlds Collide, and All Out. And we're going to just talk about which show we think was personally the best show this weekend, the highs and lows of every show, and then just general thoughts about everything that's happened surrounding all the wrestling. So let's get into it.
Well, in all honesty, since I only read reports about All Out and didn't actually watch it, I'd be better qualified to talk about it because I did watch the WWE shows. Clash of the Castle and NXT when Worlds Collide.
Did you see the press conference? CM Punk burying everybody afterward, though?
I heard about it. I didn't actually.
I watched the full press conference. Dude, in on that was made directed at Hangman Page, Colt Cabana, and I think the EVPs. And people are wondering, is this real? Is it a word? People don't know what the fuck to think.
With CM Punk, it's hard to say.
Right.
It's funny though. I find this shit funny though. I mean, the funny part was him saying, anyone who got a problem can run up on me in the back. I'm like, Punk, come on, man.
And allegedly something did happen. Apparently they said Punk and the bus got into it backstage. Don't know how true it is, but there's a video floating around on Twitter of a security guard running backstage.
Man, no. It's two of them, one security guard. If they really wanted to bust his head, they would have busted his head, man.
How people security guard?
Legend.
Well, I guess, for us to try to stick on topic, because I'm not going to lie, the CM Punk press conference is interesting, but I didn't see it. But I guess we can try to get into a brief idea about All Out, because All Out was, number one, it was way too many matches on that card. It was 13 or 14 matches on that card total. Yeah, 11 was actually on the pay-per-view. 4 was at All Out Zero Hour. It was ridiculously long. But some of the matches were really good, but I'm not gonna lie. The ladder match was the most disappointing because of the fact that the finish was just executed so badly. To where
I did see a clip of that, and the first thing I could think of was WTF. What is this?
I was more annoyed because, number one, people who are actually renting this pay-per-view, who are paying $49.99 for it, you kind of don't want to finish that janky. Seriously, you kind of sort of want to have a decent finish. But to be honest with you, the finish was bad, even though towards the end there was a payoff, but the execution was just piss poor. It took the wind out of Chicago sales all night.
I'm going to say this, Nate, about the length. Anyone who signed up to go to or watch that, I have no mercy or no sympathy. Y'all saw the card. Y'all saw it was 14 fucking matches. And y'all know them good matches are going to be at least 20 minutes long.
Everything was 20 minutes. Everything was 20 minutes, man.
No, that's the one thing that you're wrong about, Prince. The biggest problem about having that many matches on the card is that it's not enough time to showcase everybody.
Exactly.
There was only one match.
The length should not be complained about.
Not me.
Prince,
the thing is,
every match is 20 minutes. Let me give you an example of one match that didn't even go that long.
Jade.
I was not Jade. That's the 2 obvious example. Let me tell you another one. I was looking forward to this match because they had an interesting story, at least in my opinion. The Christian versus Jungle Boy thing. They had an interesting story about Christian turning on Jungle Boy, and Christian was cutting some fiery ass heel promos, some of his best work recently. So I was excited for that match. I was looking forward to it. And guess what they did? They had Luchasaurus come out, beat the ever-loving shit out of Jungle Boy, destroy him, and then Christian gets a cheap win. I'm like, I kind of wanted to see them. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to, build up a feud between Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. But at the same time, I wanted to see that. I wanted to see it.
What?
I've heard that Christian was actually working with a shoulder injury, so they did this to give him the cheap win without having to actually work a match, which that's a lame way to end the match. I mean, I'm sure the ass whooping was spectacular, but still, that's a cheap way.
I mean, it was no doubt. It was, but that was something that could have been on Dynamite. The women's matches, I'm going to say this. The women's matches weren't that bad. They weren't that bad. The interim women's championship actually was pretty decent. But when it came to Jade versus Athena, let's just say Kiera Hogan just kind of started shouting out her spots, and the baddies kind of messed things up a little bit. But
you mean Sasha wannabe?
No, don't even insult Sasha.
Why would you associate that one with Sasha?
No, you don't.
That's disrespectful to Sasha.
Oh, that's what Kiera Hogan is kind of to me, which is a shame because she actually would work on herself. She actually could be a pretty good character, but instead she half the time she's got her name in her mouth, and I'll be like, girl, that woman Mercedes Bernardo ain't even thinking about you. And this is the prime example. The botchamania that I heard about. As if Athena and Jade don't have enough to worry about with each other. They have to worry about this fool messing up their match.
I mean, to be honest with you, the fact that Jade won took the win out of a lot of people's sales because a lot of people on Twitter and even in the whole arena wanted Athena to win. And I kind of understand.
What is this? No, we need to stop this. No.
Jade, let's be honest. Jade actually had.
Here we go.
Hold on. Jade actually does have that appeal that makes the belt marketable. I'm not going to deny that. But it's to the point where it's gotten cheesy when she had that counter on the wall, and we know how bad she is in the ring. But I will say this. The match she had with Athena was 10 times better than any match she's ever had, ever. So she's improving a lot. So there is promise there. But the worst match of the night, I hate to say, definitely was that ladder match because the finish was just really, really bad. And even though it had a payoff at the end, the payoff wasn't high enough. Nobody cared. Nobody even cared that Punk won. Everybody was dead and silent. And you were in Chicago. You're home. People don't even care. But then that finish, when, I guess I'm going to say it, MJF came out. That's when it started getting hyped a little bit. It wasn't enough hype to where it should be because I think everyone was drained by the first ladder match. But I will give AEW this. Their introduction to the Trios Championship match was top notch. They did a really good job with that. They actually made it worth something, even though I don't think it should have been Dark Order. It should have been Death Triangle, or it should have been the House of Black. But they really made it worth something. And now they were telling an amazing story with Heyman Page and also his issues with Dark Order. That was probably one of the best matches of the night.
Okay.
The tag team match, good Lord. I love Keith Lee, but damn was he slow. Like he was ridiculously slow to the point where I kept falling asleep 3 times.
He looked gas, man.
He was out of gas. I'm like, how can you be out of gas that quick? What happened? Like he would always have these endurance matches.
Wait a minute, a tag team match and he was out of gas?
Yes.
It was so slow. I get what they were trying to like build it up until it like kind of picked up at the end. But I just couldn't get into the match. I'm sorry. I just couldn't.
I was asleep like 3 times. It was kind of draining, hard to stay awake. But
I'm gonna propose this to you. Is it possible that MJF has kind of lost a little bit of steam? And the fact that we've already seen Punk versus MJF 3 times already. You know?
No, because MJF has been gone for months. MJF has been gone for months.
Sometimes when you're gone, sometimes it can have a Sasha Banks effect where people are fiending and foaming at the mouth for you to come back. Or sometimes you could come back and it's like a fart in church. You know,
but here's the thing. With MJF making his return at the very end of the main event, people on Twitter kind of knew that it was him. Me, I didn't think so because it was outside his character. MJF would not pay a bunch of goons with a mask on to get the thing for him. He probably would have he probably would have had a goon, but he wouldn't put a mask on and go up and have somebody. He wouldn't do that. That's kind of outside of what he do. He's supposed to be the best at everything he does. So why would he pay? What was it? Who was the dude that climbed that ladder? Stokely Hathaway. A guy he was never even associated with.
We've already seen
no association with him at all, and he was the one that did it.
Yeah. What if it would have been Kenny Omega? Punk versus Omega, we haven't seen that yet.
I think he just got back.
The thing is,
but still, this is MJF just coming back. Omega versus Punk is the money match.
Established history with Punk. They've only wrestled twice, by the way.
Right. He has an established history with Punk, and it made sense for it to be him. But with all those matches, and I guess to wrap things up, with all those matches on that card, the booking was just weird. The booking didn't make any sense for most of them.
Yeah. Well, wrap things up and everything. Well, by the way, Daniel Bryan versus Chris Jericho, I heard about how it ended. And all I got to say is, ooh, the dudes. Followed by the Judas effect.
I will say this. As much as I love Bryan Danielson and as much as I love Chris Jericho, that match was like a bunch of old men fighting.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I did, but it's like these guys are past their prime. If this was like 03 Jericho versus like Danielson from like 2005 or like
because obviously Bryan would have to slow down. Jericho's not, he's not a spring.
He had to slow down a lot for Jericho, and it really messed up the pace of the match.
He can still go. Jericho though ain't what he was.
No. Jericho has a lot of health issues. So he had to slow down for him, and it did affect the match a lot. But All Out wasn't bad. It was a decent pay-per-view. But as compared to last year, it was kind of average, probably slightly above average, but average, which is something that you would never expect All Out to be. But they're like, I guess that's like the SummerSlam for them. So hopefully it gets better. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think about. I guess let's talk about Clash in the Castle. What did y'all think about it?
Overall, I thought it was a solid show. I mean, which I consider the women's matches, both of them, to be the weakest on the card, but even they had their moments. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I figured the 6th woman would be the better one compared to Shayna versus Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
But I think it was the opposite. I think Liv Morgan and Shayna surprised me.
Well, they had to call an audible, huh?
Audible how?
Bayley and Bianca couldn't get going because they wouldn't shut the fuck up, so Bayley had to tag out. They had to call an audible.
I got a question. What does that got to do with anything?
It has a lot to do with it. You planned it out. You said, we're going to do this to kick it off, and then you have to change shit in the middle of it. Now, when it's one-on-one, you can do that. But when you got 4 or 5 other people to work with, it's a whole
different game. What does fans have to do with it?
If Bayley didn't tag out, they would have kept doing that same bullshit and sabotaging the match. Yes, they would. Yes, they would. They weren't gonna shut up.
But let's be honest, when it comes to the women's matches of Clash in the Castle,
Bayley called an audible and tagged out earlier than she was supposed to.
You think she could? I don't know about that, Prince. I know
that wasn't audible.
I mean, I don't really know about all that, but the one thing I do know is that match was beneath Bianca.
It was beneath Asuka too.
It was Asuka's name is practically mud right now.
Asuka didn't need to be in a tag match.
She didn't even need to be there.
And Alexa Bliss down Bianca right now, to be honest.
It's just kind of giving Alexa Bliss something to do. Like
that old team don't make no sense to begin with.
No,
they don't.
No,
I agree. They don't.
But I think what makes it worse was the fact that Io, she's always going to be Io Shirai, but Io Shirai and Dakota Kai did not even win the tag team championships when they should have, and it doesn't really make them as strong and as powerful as they should be.
Right.
It made them
to a scrub.
And on the side note, no way in this world they should have lost to Raquel Gonzalez and Aaliyah.
Okay, let's be honest. Raquel Gonzalez has a lot more to her than Aaliyah does. Aaliyah is practically a jobber.
Aaliyah is a scrub.
She's a jobber, pretty much.
I'm saying. Yeah. Practically because of Aaliyah. I mean,
Aaliyah kind of downgraded that whole team, and it's not because she hasn't really been hyped up to be that good. She just hasn't.
No,
she's nice to look at though. She's very nice to look at. That's about it though.
Under no circumstances should they have lost to Raquel, and I agree, it made them look weak going in. And honestly, the only one that benefited from that sixth woman was Bayley. I mean, it was great for her.
She was the one that pinned Bianca, and this is something we're going back to after we already saw the feud conclude. They don't have anybody else for her, and that's sad. But
in the meantime, I kind of feel like they should have been building up contenders for Bianca. I mean, I understand you're trying to get a new faction over, but at the same time, you had them lose to Raquel and Aaliyah on Raw last week, so it didn't do anything for them.
No.
So what's the point now?
No, it really didn't do much for them, and it didn't really make them stronger at all. And the women's matches, let's just be honest, and I'm just gonna get Liv Morgan versus Shayna out the way. At least it wasn't a roll-up. I'll just say this. At least it wasn't a roll-up.
Yeah, at least Liv got a clean win for one time.
And she looked like she was really putting in that work.
At least she got a clean win.
Yeah. But was it good?
It wasn't over someone credible, but yeah.
But was it good though?
It was okay.
It wasn't good. It was better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it was all right.
It was all right. It was all right.
I thought it was going to be trash, but it ended up being okay. Although
it was creeping into trash territory. It was creeping into there.
Her learning to counter Shayna's moves, that's the only part I had trouble with. Her learning to counter Shayna's moves was one thing, but her trying to put moves on, I like no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, she couldn't put a hold on.
That ain't gonna work, honey.
One thing. Let's run a campaign against Liv being put in the arm bars. That shit needs to stop, bro.
Yeah.
I talk about destroyed by now all the fucking time. Shayna Baszler, if she put Liv, same with when Ronda was doing it. No, Liv should not be putting armbar after armbar after armbar, and we're supposed to believe they haven't snapped her like a twig.
Yep.
Yeah.
Come on.
Her arm should be destroyed by now.
It'd be one thing if she was a submission specialist like Sasha or some shit, but that ain't Liv's game. Come on. Now her countering some of the artists.
Not really a submission specialist either, but
Sasha
she has
a submission specialist. Sasha wins off of what primarily?
Oh, well, that's
the bank statement.
Bank statement.
Exactly,
Basically the crippler crossface without an arm.
You could say all the horsewomen to a certain extent, except maybe Bayley are submission specialists. That's how they usually win.
Yeah, although Bayley has used the Ring of Saturn.
Yeah.
She has used the Ring of Saturn.
She has. But she doesn't use submissions as much as Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha. Not as much as them.
What's ironic is Liv has also used the Rings of Saturn, which I'm surprised she didn't break it out in that one.
But I am happy for one thing, that the commentator says she has a long way to go. She does. they booked her so badly that nobody believes her to be a true champion. This might be a better route for her. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next. It seems like they're going to book her a lot better here.
That's what we said. We said the problem was they're booking Liv like she doesn't have to go no more. If she wasn't champ, you can have her with these cheap roll-ups, but she's the fucking champ now. You got to let her put people away with finishers. I mean, imagine what Hogan would have looked like if Hogan was rolling people up all the time.
I even said the night that she cashed in Money in the Bank on Ronda, when she put her in the ankle lock, but Ronda had the bad leg. Kicking the bad leg, that was smart. But I hated the roll-up. What should have happened was, as soon as she got kicked in the bad leg, Ronda should have went down, got up, and when she turned around, boom, oblivion. 1, 2, 3. Right. That would have looked way better.
Yep. Exactly. Like even Trips during the Reign of Terror, he would low blow and cheat. But 9 times out of 10, they got put down by the pedigree.
Yeah.
He wasn't rolling them up. You know?
Now,
let's move on to like a okay, this is a match that launched 1,000 memes. And also everybody cheering, which I'm not really surprised at this. I don't know why everybody thinks it's a big surprise about, but Rey Mysterio and Edge versus Judgment Day.
Oh, yeah, let's get that out of the way.
Yeah. What did y'all think of that match?
Ray,
the match was solid,
man. Keep getting them checks, Ray. Ray was the bum sponge. They whooped his ass.
Yes, they did.
Honestly, it was interesting seeing how they were both teamed up together and they've been enemies for so long. So that was kind of unique in itself. The match was pretty solid.
There's actually a history there that
I brought it up. I brought it up. About
There's a lot of history with them.
SmackDown 6 days back in 2002.
Yeah, of course they can't really mention that because one of them, I just son, but of course referred to Chris Benoit. No, the name is not banned on Club Atlantis. But anyway, but yeah,
but was y'all surprised? Was y'all surprised when Dom just kicked Edge in the nuts? Were y'all surprised with that?
I wasn't surprised at the heel turn. I was surprised at the way they did it.
Yeah, they had him hit at first. Had him turn on Edge, and I was like, okay, maybe he was pissed about the Edge thing because Edge did spear him like a couple of weeks ago. So it makes sense why he was upset at Edge, and then they had him turn on his father.
But I kind of saw that coming for like years now.
People noticed as well. He did it in a very similar fashion to Eddie from back in 2005.
Yep.
Good point. I honestly didn't think about that.
The hair too.
And plus he got the hair. And even the Miz. Remember back right before WrestleMania?
Yeah.
Even the Miz, when he had him on Miz TV, Ray and Dominic, he looked at Dominic like, "Hey Ray, are you sure Dominic's not Eddie?" It was being planted even then.
But I kind of saw that coming though. Like, especially when he was standing so far to the left. And I'm like, yeah, he's going to turn heel. He's going to turn heel. Come on, you're going to do it. But let's be honest, Ray has kind of been in Dom's way for years now. He is not really...
It's the right time though. It's time
now. It's time now.
Right time.
Yeah, but Ray was just on there for too long. It was kind of bound to happen for him to break out. And honestly, everybody was like going nuts when he did it. Like I've seen so many clips of people losing their minds when, you finally did it.
Dominic is he's just a young, innocent little puppy. And Rhea came and put that thing on him.
Who's your daddy? Rhea's your daddy.
Everybody's been making a meme about that. Everybody.
Who's your daddy?
No.
Your daddy.
No. When I think, you know what I think of? I don't know if you've ever seen the film Beyond the Lights.
Oh man.
Oh no.
I'm thinking of the airplane scene.
Dom gonna be doing
where Juju's character finds out that the cop dude that she's been kind of dating that saved her life from killing herself. The cop dude was a virgin, so she got him on the plane. He thought there was gonna be other people, but it was just her. and she said, I want to be your first, and pretty much just kiss. At first, she tried to kind of fight it a little bit, then he gave in. She curled down his pants. She pulled up her skirt.
Okay. Let's move on. I
won't get graphic.
Yeah, let's kind of move on.
He basically whipped it on him.
Okay. Let's just gotta move on from there.
Yeah.
Let's talk. Okay. So we all
just know
that
when
match
you
was
see
good.
Dominic giving the August Alsina video.
Okay. All right.
It's blessed.
We thought that match was good. What about Seth Rollins versus Matt Riddle?
Seth Rollins versus
pretty good. I thought it should have been more violent than it was, though.
Why did Matt Riddle come out there smiling like that, man? You supposed to be angry,
dude.
Bro.
He had a 420 T-shirt. You know what he did before that match.
If you're in the grudge,
I don't care how much we spoke. A man talk about your family like that.
I kind of see Prince's point on that.
You ain't about to smoke before a match when you about to whoop someone's ass.
That's true.
Like, you don't smoke after the match.
Let me put it like this.
That's true.
Let me put it like this. The second Seth Rollins showed up, like, ooh, in that crazy devil outfit of his, like, ooh, Matt
I think he was channeling his inner Elton John.
Up the ramp, they're like, oh.
Matt Riddle should have jumped his ass in the parking lot, to be real.
No, you got. As soon
as he pulled up, he should have whooped his ass. If they were going to write it believably, you know.
No, you kind of got a point. You kind of got a point to a certain extent. It should have been a lot more violent since. But it was just that one promo.
It was still good. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it was good, but
it was still good. But it wasn't like how Triple H versus Randy Orton was. How it had so much heat and then it just ended in a whimper. It wasn't like that.
Versus Sean. You didn't see Sean and him walk out there smiling and happy.
No, they just started beating the crap out of each other.
And Sean, he supposed to be stripper man with the assless chaps and shit. Sean came out there with some damn trucker jeans and some boots on, ready to whoop his ass.
I think the thing.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing. No, that's you talking about SummerSlam 2002,
the unsanctioned one.
Yeah, he was playing with the fans a little bit, but when Triple H came out, no, he sat in the corner and was waiting for him. Like, yeah, get your ass out here. And as soon as he got big, it was over.
I mean, I will say this: it should have been a lot more aggressive than it was, but it wasn't bad.
The match itself was cool. The match itself was cool, but the lead up to it.
Yeah, honestly, I think Nate should have
wrote that shit better.
It should be way more violent than it was.
Right.
That's why I hope the feud is not over, man.
I don't think it is. Since Seth won, I don't think it is. I think they're gonna continue with it.
I don't think Matt should do Seth ever though. Like I agree with what Nate said a few days ago. Seth should be a dominant villain.
Yeah.
He just should. At this
he really
point,
needs to be a dominant villain and he needs to go after Roman.
The only dude who's beaten Roman has been Seth at this point.
Yeah. He actually legit beat Roman. Even though it was a DQ, he still beat him.
Roman's still not beating Seth. That's the one hurdle.
He still hasn't beaten Seth. That's like probably the best route to go. Do y'all want to talk about the main event or do y'all want to talk about the match tonight?
If you were to make an alternate argument, because everybody's saying Cody Rhodes, but if you were going to make a good alternate argument on who should beat Seth,
people need to stop.
No, Cody don't need to beat Roman.
Hold on. If you was going to make an alternate argument of who should beat Roman instead of Cody, Seth would have a very good argument.
Mm-hmm.
Can we take Cody's name and just throw it out the window? No. Braun Breaker is a better candidate.
When it comes to beating Roman, no, it should not be Cody. It should be Seth because Seth has a lot more history. And Seth got in his head. Seth was able to get in his head, and Seth is far more dominant mentally as well as physically than people think.
Considering their history, I think.
And Seth is dastardly enough to come up with a way
to handle the bloodline too.
Right, to handle the bloodline.
Yeah,
right.
to get.
But I am wondering if
to basically neutralize them.
But I am wondering whether or
they're
not
probably sinister enough to match with.
I am wondering whether or not they're going to take it to WrestleMania. I hope they do. I hope they do.
That Braun Breaker would have a better argument to end Roman Street?
No.
Than Cody, yeah.
No.
I mean, if you want to establish a new guy and give him the Brock Lesnar 02 style push, you
go with Braun Breaker. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know about that.
I mean, if that's what you're trying to build somebody up, if you
build what he's saying,
and then have
that Brock Lesnar, that he would have a better argument with Braun Breaker than you would Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, I see his point. I see his point when it comes to that. But I am curious. Did y'all want to talk about the main event or the match of the night?
You know what?
We all know what the match of the night is.
First. Let's talk about the main event first.
Yeah. So what did you guys think? What did you guys think about Drew versus Roman?
It was a good match. Had they hear me out, had they let Drew win at Clash of Castle, he didn't even have to keep the titles long. You could have Roman win it the next pay-per-view or something. But had they let Drew win, it would have not only acquitted the show, it would have acquitted that ending after the match. That ending after the match made no sense. I'm like, it would have looked better if he'd have won.
No, but the thing is, I think they should have faded to black, but for some reason they kept going.
That's what
I said like after Roman
Tyson Fury. Oh, that's what y'all know.
Tyson Fury and he walked off with they should have cut the black right there.
They should have. They really should have. But
yeah, if they were gonna do that, they should have cut the black.
The problem is with that, and we talked about it when it happened, is that the average person has no clue who Tyson Fury is. This isn't like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Mike Tyson or Busta Rhymes when you had them. The average person, people don't watch boxing like that. Only hardcore boxing fans know who Tyson Fury is. So when he's singing, the crowd is wondering, who the fuck is this guy? And then when Drew's singing, they joined in.
Everybody there in Cardiff knew who Tyson Fury was.
Yeah, from there.
They did.
Yeah, they did. He's from there. But
just because you're from a place doesn't mean people know who you are. You can march Chance the Rapper out in front of a Chicago crowd, and half of I know who he is. They know who.
No,
Kanye
but you
is.
go by the reaction of the crowd, Prince, and the crowd reacted to him.
They knew he was somebody, but at the same time, they were like, now if this was Floyd Mayweather or Conor McGregor, the average person knows who Conor McGregor is.
That's true. That's
you know
true.
what I'm saying? But
yeah, I get what you're saying.
March out some random MMA guy. They're like, huh? Well, I mean, he's in UFC, but
now I get what
Conor
you're saying.
McGregor going out there giving a speech, people gonna be hyped because they know and care who he is.
Yeah, I get what you're saying when it comes to that.
Tyson Fury, only hardcore boxing fans know who he is.
But when it comes to the actual match, if they only allow both of the belts to be up for grabs and Drew making a choice on which one he wanted to take, it would have meant a little something. Because
been back to square one.
Both of them were up.
But we would have went back to square one with this one belt here, one belt there stuff. When
they're going to do that anyway. They're not going to merge them. They're going to do that anyway.
They never should. They never should do that again.
They're not going to. So I'm like, why don't you give the Raw Championship to Drew and have him go back to Raw and have Roman on SmackDown?
Because you go back to the same predicament you were in before.
Either or, you
already fixed it. Why are we going to break it again?
Here's my thing. I thought the way they were setting it up, it looked like Drew was going to win. But I saw your argument about why you should keep the belts on them. But the way they were setting it up with him bringing back the Broken Dreams and all the build-up, it looked like they were going to have him win, and then he didn't. It looked like he was going to win, but then he didn't. So it's like...
I think it would have had a lot more heart and a lot more meaning if he won one of them. Especially that they haven't had a major pay-per-view in the UK for 30 years. It would have meant something.
I was cheering for a Dusty finish. I said it a million times. No, I think they should have Dusty finished it.
Hell no.
I really think they should have.
This is what Prince would have wanted. Prince said you should have done a Dusty finish. He was throwing out the idea. You have Drew win, maybe because Roman's foot's on the rope. Let's say the ref doesn't see it. Crowd pops for
No.
Drew. And
We've done that too much.
They haven't done that too much. Now another company's done it too much.
We beat that into the ground. We beat that into the ground. We can't do that no more.
They didn't beat that into the ground.
That match was too big. No.
Nah.
If this was a Raw,
they beat that into the ground.
Raw, sure.
AEW beat that shit into the ground. Not them, but
you
benefit from the fact that half of that audience doesn't watch AEW.
AEW
on a pay-per-view like that? No.
They don't do Dusty finishes like that.
Man, they should do the Dusty finish. Because Drew gets his moment. Drew gets his moment.
Prince, Jim Crockett and them did the Dusty finishes a lot back in the day. It killed a lot of towns and territories doing that shit. So no.
It kills a lot of momentum doing that. And it just they've done it far too much.
That's like being a cuckold, man.
Let's stop with they. Be very specific on who's done it. Let's point out that most of that audience doesn't watch that show.
To be honest, Roman's gimmick, in my opinion, is starting to go a little stale. But now that you add a third Uso, okay.
It just depends on what they do. If they fuck this up,
we all know that Sami Zayn's getting the boot now. Now they got 3 Usos. They don't really need no more.
They don't need Sami Zayn at this point.
Done.
You know what? I propose this. I think it's going to happen. I wonder how you feel about this. If they do kick Sami Zayn out, are you seeing him getting back with Kevin Owens and them doing a tag?
Yep.
No.
Yes.
I don't know. I see it happen.
You may not want it to happen, but it's going to happen.
The problem is it's going to take away all that feuding they had leading up to Battleground.
I want Kevin Owens to be by himself.
Here's the flip side. The Usos are the unified tag team champions, right? You have nobody to face them right now. The New Day is all but gone. The Viking Raiders are a joke. The Street Profits done got their behinds whooped by the Usos twice. So they're pretty much done for now, if not forever. Who do you got? You got nobody. So you might as well put Owens and Zayn together.
You better off putting DIY back together.
Now that the third one has come from NXT to join the bloodline, Sami Zayn is done. He's done.
You're better off putting DIY back together.
They probably
that would even be a worse idea.
Worse. I wouldn't want Ciampa and Gargano back together, man. I wouldn't want that.
They're not gonna do nothing.
They came so far. They don't really need to be a tag team anymore.
They're not.
I wouldn't want them as. I understand lack of tag teams, but these guys like Owens and Zayn, Ciampa and Gargano, they feud too much, and they've been putting together in tag teams. They don't want people to feud them again. It's like it's just
KO and Sammy. We've seen that on the main roster. You gotta remember, most of the main roster audience does not watch NXT. So
I get that point. I get that
and all that shit. They don't even know what the fuck that is.
So for me, I really didn't care much for this match because I don't really care much for Roman as his character anymore. And Drew, I kind of knew, I really wanted him to win. He has a lot of heart.
Yeah. But you didn't even have to keep the belt on him very long. You could have had him drop at the next pay-per-view. Like I said.
I was kind of bummed with the whole finish, but I will say that this Roman is having a tough time keeping up in matches now. I'm kind of noticing that a little bit.
That him talking in the middle of the match was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, that was the
smallish me thing.
His endurance level has changed.
Especially you facing a guy like Drew in his home country in a big match like that. No, I ain't gonna be talking junk.
He talking like he was fighting out.
No, but he does that. He does that when he's like, I mean, people kind of they do that when they can't keep up.
The trash talking is one thing, but grabbing the microphone and all that goofy shit, like no, man.
Yeah.
Not in there.
Yeah, I mean, And you know how I noticed, like, Charlotte Flair, for example, trash talk? Even Charlotte doesn't do that.
With Charlotte is just trash talk. She's still a role player, though.
Oh God.
Yeah, but she still be kicking the person's behind though while she trash talks.
But I don't know. I really didn't care much for that match, even though it had that weird, really weird, odd finish with the drunken bar singing. I don't know why that happened.
Yeah,
I'm not for the finish, but I'm not against it either. I'm on the fence with it personally. I gotta see what they do.
That ending, they should have had Drew win.
Yeah, they really should have.
A lot better.
It would have had a lot more meaning.
I got SummerSlam 1993 vibes when Lex Luger knocked Yokozuna out of the ring. They did the celebration with him like he won the title, but he won by count out.
Boo!
Looking like a freaking idiot.
Boo! Boo that man. I hate his name mentioned.
Hey, I support Roman winning, but they could have did it better.
My girlfriend hates Lex Luger. Not necessarily the person, but she hates that
character. I hate the character. The character sucks.
She could drop trowel and take a piss on it and set it on fire. That's how much she hates it.
I will embrace that man's character with napalm and just watch it burn. But anyway, my match. Let's just get on to the match of the night. Let's get on to the match of the night. Sheamus versus Gunther. Yes. And they finally got Imperium back together.
Okay. Pop for that.
Just the way it started, and I think we all appreciate this. The unique opening of it, from the presentation of Gunther. They made Gunther feel like a big fucking deal, which they do a really good job of. And then the stare down.
That was awesome.
That was well done when they had basically Sheamus and Imperium going at it, and they didn't do nothing. They just let them.
Yeah, they didn't even pay no mind. They were just looking at each other.
That was awesome.
It was very Dark Knight Rises-ish, where Batman and Bane walk around and they just stare each other down, and all this chaos is around them. It was it reminded me of that.
That match itself had so much heart. It had so much heart, so much fighting. It's just so much with Sheamus taco meat chest.
Not a flip.
Go ahead, guys.
I'll tell you, I appreciate. I told them this in the live when we were talking about watching it live on Teenage. I appreciate when matches feel like real freaking fight sites. That match felt like a real fight.
It was a real fight. It was a real fight. It was so great.
And let me say this. Lately, off camera, and of course over the phone because we're in two different states, but we have been watching, I've been finding a lot of good intercontinental title, or at least ones with memorable moments, such as the two matches Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho had for the Intercontinental title. One was a submission match, the other was a ladder match. Rikishi versus Val Venus, which was an average match, but it had a memorable ending with Rikishi pretty much turning Val Venus into pizza when he slapped the top of the cage. And of course, what's become one of Regina's favorites, and a match that's not often talked about. Rob Van Dam versus Brock Lesnar for the Intercontinental title.
Ooh, I thought you were going to say the Hardy one.
No one talks about that match, and I don't know why.
Are you talking about Vintage 2002?
Yes.
I love that match.
No one talks about
that match. Is great.
That cold card is underrated. Vintage 2002 does not get enough credit, and it has arguably, in my opinion, one of the greatest triple threat matches of all time on that.
Oh yeah.
Rock. That card enough. Vintage 2002 don't talk about that card enough.
But and I think I've actually mentioned this to Irvin when we were watching it again.
It is. It's one of the most underrated cards they got.
I think this is something that I mentioned to Irvin when he was watching it with me after he watched it with y'all. Have y'all noticed that? And I know you guys seen the Ilya Dragunov versus Walter match before he had his name changed. And I know y'all saw both of them. Have y'all noticed that the fact that he lost to Ilya Dragunov, when they had the second match, that Gunther kind of lost his edge a tad. Not a lot, but a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah. But I will say this. If that's Gunther or Walter with a little bit of edge loss, you imagine if he was still full Walter?
Oh, yeah. He turned Sheamus's chest into taco meat.
And there's a reason I call him Wahoo McDaniel chops and not Ric Flair like chops. Ric Flair's was the types that sting. Wahoo's was the kind that would cave your chest in. The kind Walter has. He has the Wahoo chops.
He has the chops that will just leave a permanent dent in your chest, as well as just bruised and bloody. That match was so brutal, but Sheamus gave it his all, even when his back was gone. And that what was it? That slam that he did to the mat, that he landed square on the center of his lower back twice. Yeah, that impact that power bomb twice to his lower back took him out. That was an amazing story that was told. But you got to give some mad respect to Sheamus. He's the most underrated wrestler there is.
He sold that extremely well. And let me say,
it's a big journey for Sheamus after all the neck injuries he's had. So for him to come out there and perform like he did and get that much appreciation, it had to be big for him.
Yeah.
He went through his neck.
Yeah, it was one of those matches. I knew Gunther was probably going to win. I still prefer
which is fine.
I knew he was probably going to win, but if Sheamus would have won, I would not have been unhappy.
I would have been upset if he won either.
There was not a single thigh slap or a single flip the entire match. Not one.
Oh no, that was old time. That was old time wrestling. That's one of the matches I will probably go back and look at, because I told Regina this. You drop Gunther versus Sheamus in the middle of Jim Crockett or the middle of World Class or Bill Watts Mid South, it would have fit right in. Because that's the kind of wrestling they were doing anyway.
I mean, that match was probably the match of the night, the one that people are going to remember. They're not.
I think.
I mean, they're going to remember the main event, but they're going to remember that more.
Already. It's already a match of the year candidate. Gunther, he's making the Intercontinental title worth something again.
I know.
Just something we haven't seen in a long time.
Copy back there. It's not theirs, but I love that belt. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
He's making it mean something again, because it's been a joke for a while now. But now you can take it serious.
Yeah, that's why Regina's been asking me, hey, Irvin, you've watched more wrestling than me. Show me some Intercontinental title matches that you do that was good. Mm-hmm. I think it started when it was up here.
It's just even when you were coming up, the Honky Tonk Man may have been the only goofy champion that belt had.
But you still paid attention.
But you still paid attention to it. Yeah, it's like, my era, I can't think of one who was like a kind of goofy. Like Kurt Angle was goofy, but he would still beat someone's ass. Yeah, it's like.
But you still took him seriously.
Like all the Intercontinental champions growing up actually
cared.
Yeah, it's like because
even the weaker ones, like I mentioned, Rikishi and Val Venus earlier.
Yeah.
Weaker ones, you still paid attention.
But it's been so goofy these last few years. Like they gave it to Nakamura with boobs, and they was doing all that goofy shit. And before that, it was
had nobody to defend it when he had the title.
But even
nobody to defend it.
But that's part of it. But even the whole gimmick they had him doing was just so silly.
Yeah.
It's like if this was serious Nakamura, where he was on his, like a drugged up Michael Jackson half the time, then yeah, people would have fucked with it. But they I don't know, they rolled him so bad during that time.
They did, no doubt. But to be honest, with the overall card, even though you had that gem of a match with Gunther and Sheamus, it wasn't bad. It actually was okay. I would probably say maybe slightly above average.
I'm gonna say it was great because, and you can ask Rel and Unk, they will testify to this. I wanted to turn the card off a million times. Like something would happen. I'm like, oh, here comes AEW Dynamite. Here comes a bunch of shit I don't care about. But something would happen that would keep me looking at it. I'm like, oh, cool.
The reason why I can't say that it was great is because the women's matches were so far.
Yeah,
that was the only kind of weak part of it. Was the triple threat. I mean,
that was the only one that was trash.
The 3-on-3
Shayna wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
Wasn't great either.
It wasn't bad, but it was okay. But the 3-on-3 was not good.
Hey,
the women's matches kind of made it weak.
You know what's ironic? And this is a good segue into this. What's ironic is the next night, the smaller of the two cards, which was NXT When Worlds Collide, actually their women's matches, which I expected to be weaker than the ones at Clash at the Castle, they actually did theirs better.
Way better. I was really surprised with Mandy Rose versus Miko Satomura and Blair Davenport. That triple threat match, I honestly didn't expect it to be that good, but it was that good.
Yeah,
and it showed how far Mandy Rose is
presentation.
Mandy Rose didn't feel like she was being carried.
No.
Mandy didn't feel like she was being carried, but they also didn't present Mako the right way. Mako's supposed to be the final boss, right? The final fucking boss. That's her gimmick, right? If she's the final boss, why is she walking out first?
I wish they would have left it one-on-one. Mandy versus Satomura.
Because to be honest with you, Blair Davenport or B. Priestley, she will always be B. Priestley to me. But I mean, the thing is, what was she going to gain in this triple threat? That was my question.
She was there to eat the pinfall.
She was just there to take the pinfall.
She wasn't going to win any of the titles, so she was just there. And I'm
so why have her come out second instead of the champions is always supposed to come out last, unless it's a major attraction coming out. You know, if it's Lesnar coming out, okay, let Lesnar come out last. It's fucking Lesnar. If it's Taker, let Taker come out last. Okay, but they are not making Mako look like a big deal. So when people go, oh man, Mako, why don't y'all think she's a big deal? Because of shit like that.
Yeah,
she's the fucking champ. Why is she the first one walking out?
Now, I will say this as a wrestler, and I've said this many times in the chat today. From a wrestling fan standpoint, I would have preferred Mako Satomura, but from a business standpoint, I get why they went, and I probably would have too. I get why they went with Mandy.
I would agree.
You're the market.
I agree. Mandy definitely has showed that Mandy has come a long way. She really has. But I heard a bullshit claim by somebody today that I just have to laugh at. Somebody said, and I quote this, Mandy Rose, this person said Mandy Rose is Tessa Blanchard and Trish Stratus put together. And I'm so like, what?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take my filter off. What the fuck?
What?
I was like, wait a minute.
What?
No. Mandy Rose is Mandy Rose.
No.
Mandy Rose is nowhere. She's nowhere. I mean, regardless of what you think of her attitude, that's the
you know what? And John Morant is Michael Jordan.
I just had to
she's not even early. She's barely above early Trish Stratus. She certainly wasn't Trish Stratus by the time she left in 2006.
Oh my gosh, man. No. I'm gonna ignore that.
Yeah.
Who the fuck?
Nate's like, I'm not even gonna dignify that shit.
I'm not.
Let Mandy. Mandy's her own thing, man.
But that match actually was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Can I honestly say, compared to the women's championship match, can we say that the NXT tag team match?
That's the funniest thing. The one at NXT was actually better than the one at Clash at the Castle.
Yeah, it definitely was.
It was.
But when it comes to the tag match,
Mandy doesn't need to be those two. Mandy has developed a more cerebral character.
Mandy doesn't need to have a bunch of moves. She can just
She's added some moves, but she uses her head.
Yeah.
She's more cerebral now.
And she's a really good seller. People don't give that girl credit for her selling ability. She takes some bumps now.
Yeah. The whole USA chant was kind of annoying too.
Yeah. I told Prince when they were chanting USA, USA, I was like, it's played out. It's played out. 1980s, fools, cut it out. This ain't the 1980s. Boo.
No.
I mean, it works if you have a strong wrestler that's over and they have a strong anti-US gimmick, which is played out.
Or a patriot gimmick like Axel.
The thing is, Satomura ain't said nothing about the US. Neither is Blair Davenport. They didn't give a crap about putting out the US. They came to win belts. You know what I'm saying? That chant was so unnecessary. It got shut down too, pretty much. When some fans tried to start that, some other fans shut that down.
Oh yeah, just because Mandy came out in the Wonder Woman American flag style gear.
The only person who can rock the whole Wonder Woman thing is Sasha. Let it go.
I mean,
I don't know.
Y'all got Wonder Woman from that? Y'all saw Wonder Woman from that?
No, I mean,
I didn't get Wonder Woman seeing that personally.
No, not really. It was the color.
It was just an American flag.
Mandy did.
No. It wasn't Wonder Woman because Wonder Woman had blue tights. So no, it was just the American flag.
No, it was an American flag.
Yeah, it pretty much was the American flag.
It was her own thing.
Yeah.
But it didn't look bad.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look bad at all. But compared to the tag team match, do y'all think that the women's the women's championship match was better than the tag match?
The women's tag team match at NXT TakeOver was better than the 6th woman.
It was, honestly.
Yeah. It's easy to execute your plan when you don't have people sabotaging your match. You have to call audibles.
Boo! I call bull.
You're still making that claim that they had to call an audible.
I call bull on that one, Prince.
I'm the one who doesn't want that.
I'm the one who wants to
your fail. I'm the one protecting.
Assuming that that's true, if you're a professional, you do your job. Okay?
They still did their job.
Okay.
They still did it.
Fans. As long as nobody's throwing stuff or not actually trying to get in the ring, that shouldn't matter what they're chanting.
Yeah.
Bailey said, "You know what? I'm gonna tag out right quick since y'all won't shut the fuck up."
But then again, she could have been playing into it before all you know by doing that.
Yeah. I think late after the match went on, she was playing into that chanting stuff. She was.
I think she kind of was, but it's Bailey. It's Bailey, so I'm not really surprised. But did this match, the NXT Women's Tag Championship, did that match matter to y'all? Because it kind of didn't matter much for me.
Not really, except in my opinion, it was just a vehicle to help push Casey and Carter over. And I still call her Casey. I know she's called Katana now, but I still
chance.
But the team of Doudrop and Nikki Ash, I'm sorry, at times they felt more like Piper Niven and Nikki Cross.
I think they're slowly starting to get back to that. But that match actually was pretty good. I just didn't really care much for the
I understand.
I didn't care much for Katana Chance
to bring back Toxic Attraction.
Yeah, in my humble opinion, they should have been in the tournament if they were okay.
Honestly, why wasn't Kate and Katana not in it?
Yeah.
Other than Toxic Attraction, they would have made the most sense.
And in a way,
Attraction.
I mean, the match itself wasn't bad, but in my opinion, it should have just made it like a triple threat by having Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, Doudrop and Nikki Ash, and Toxic Attraction. Should have been in the match instead of just coming out for.
I'm gonna ask you this: Piper Niven's in a tag team. Is that the best spot for her, in your opinion? Her and Nikki Cross at this point?
No,
not in their current gimmicks.
I mean, if they go back to the gimmick, They go back to their old goodness. Maybe it can work.
Might be more interesting.
Scottish thing more often.
If they go back to their old gimmicks, I think that would work.
And Piper Niven is Piper Niven, but can Nikki Cross really, at this point, now that she's lost so much weight, really go back and be feared like she was? She's pretty small now.
She's small, but she's not small.
She's not tiny. I mean, shoot.
She'll be Blair Davenport Part 2, man.
She's not tiny by no means. I think her character be fine.
She's lost weight.
She's lost some weight, but she's not like puny.
Compared to what she was, though, one of the big selling points of Nikki Cross was she was thicker. She could run people over, but now she's lost so much weight. She goes back. You may as well just put her and Blair Davenport together. Make them the two British goth chicks, basically.
No, that would not work. And it's funny how we talked about the women's match and didn't talk about the opener.
I'm just saying. I don't think Nikki Cross can go back to being Nikki Cross at this point.
She can, to be honest.
No one's gonna fear her.
Yeah.
I don't know about
fear Nikki Cross because she was
with
big.
The whole Nikki ass thing. Yeah, good point. Good point. She probably could.
Always on the smaller side, though. If you think about it.
Who?
She was a little bit thicker, but she always was on the smallish side overall.
Yeah,
but
true.
It's like from an optics standpoint, how do you buy that people are scared of her? Like before, you could buy it. You're like, okay, yeah, she kind of scary. But now it's like, I'm just letting it float.
Now, are we just going to skip over the Ricochet and?
I think we gotta talk about that a little bit. Talk the discount Ricochet versus the real Ricochet.
I personally
y'all enjoyed it.
I personally say skip over the tag team match.
I think the tag team match,
or like Lucha Underground style high flying matches, but this case with these two, it worked for me personally.
Discount Ricochet versus the real thing. That's what I call it.
Carmelo
Ricochet need to go to AEW.
North American title. It was solid for what it was. The ending surprised me, and normally I don't like roll up.
That Carmelo didn't need nobody.
Yeah, I wish they would have put Trick Williams in the back, honestly.
Why was he even out there?
Melo could have beat Ricochet without Trick having to be there.
Why was he even out there?
Ricochet without him.
Ultimately,
Melo wasn't going to beat Ricochet without him. Come on.
You need the bullshit. Did you watch the match?
I did. He wasn't beating Ricochet without him.
He was keeping up with him in that whole fucking match, bro.
Trick Williams was actually making more mistakes being out there than him not being out there. He was better off just being in the back. He really wasn't doing anything to help out anyone.
Not to mention
Prince Puma.
I'll
I'm
admit,
gonna say that.
And normally,
Prince Puma, sign Prince Puma. Ricochet can go to AEW. That's where he belongs. But Prince Puma belongs in.
I will say
belongs
this
on the big stage.
If it had been Prince Puma versus Carmelo,
Prince Puma would have wrecked him.
He would.
Puma would have.
He probably would have.
Wait a minute,
destroyed.
Labreo. I will actually side with Prince a little bit here. When Ricochet was Prince Puma, he had the same style and everything, but there was something a little more aggressive with him.
Yeah, it was. I'd agree with you on that.
He might have wrecked Carmelo Hayes.
If it was Prince Puma version of Ricochet against Carmelo Hayes, no, Melo ain't keeping up with him.
So did y'all want to skip over the Fatal 4-Way for the NXT Tag Team Championship?
Really, the only thing worth talking about.
Yeah, we don't really need to talk about anything else, to be honest.
All we know, all that you need to hear is Pretty Deadly won.
That's all. Moving on.
That's
Pretty
all.
much.
And the Creed brothers turned on him.
Yeah.
Which was a surprise because I figured it'd be Roderick Strong.
Everybody was thinking it was going to be Roderick Strong who turned on Diamond, but it wasn't.
The modern day Lance Storm.
So, okay, let's talk about.
Well, I guess let's talk about the main
Lance Storm. Honestly, not a bad
which broke Regina's heart.
It did, okay? I like Tyler Bate, okay? I'm a fan. I love NXT UK. I'm heartbroken it's gone.
Against Bronson Steiner, better known as Braun Breaker.
I love that.
Call him that. Bronson
Steiner sounds like a better name.
They've already acknowledged him as a Steiner. So please call him Bronson Steiner.
Maybe they'll change his name when he comes up to the main roster.
Or maybe Rick Steiner's is not allowing him to change the name because he's the one that owns it.
Maybe.
No, actually, Scott.
I mean, Scott. That's what I meant. Scott Steiner, not Rick. Rick's his dad. Scott's the crazy one. The genetic freak.
But I will say this. There was one part that Prince complained about, which I have to go back and
Did you go back and rewatch it?
I don't remember it. Where apparently Braun ran into Tyler Bates and Braun was the one that fell down.
Oh,
that shit was good. Like I said, NFL running backs wish the world worked that way on. Ezekiel Elliott wishes the world worked that way, right?
But I will say this. Aside from that part, the match to me worked aside from that part.
Honestly, I didn't even pay attention to it. But I do know it was heartbreaking to see that because it's the end of NXT UK. It was a swan song. And it just and I think it had more heart there. That's why Worlds Collide, at least in my opinion, Worlds Collide compared to all the other wrestling we've seen this week was by far the better pay-per-view. Compared to All Out, compared to Worlds Collide,
moment from Braun Steiner.
Compared to even Clash.
I would have given it a pass if it was done for a good reason. Like if you're like, okay, it was done for this reason or it was done for that reason, then it makes sense. Guess what reason they did it for, huh? So Braun Steiner and Tyler Bate could do the cheap kip up and get the cheap hop.
True.
Like if it was
done now I remember. They collided and they both fell down.
Yeah, Tyler Bate was just standing there.
Now I
Braun's
remember.
running at full speed.
Okay. Yeah.
Shit was
actually, it's not too possible. Because if 180-pound solid muscle dude gets some momentum, he could, I stress, could knock down a 230-pound dude. But they both went down. So actually, that's not that impossible.
Not to mention they have been wrestling like for a good 8 minutes and their body's already jello.
Tyler Bate was just standing there. I could see if they were both running at each other. Tyler Bate was just standing there.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why
I was thinking they ran at each other. I'd have to go back.
No. Like Daniel Bryan runs at big guys all the time and knocks them down. I don't complain about that because, all right, he's a smaller guy, but he's running with momentum. Okay, I can buy him knocking down a bigger guy. Tyler Bate is 180 pounds. Braun is like 230 running at him. Tyler Bate just said, physics don't work that way.
They don't.
So, when linebackers come to tackle Ezekiel Elliott, he should just stand there. The linebacker's going to fall down. Wait.
Hold on. The fact that Tyler Bate is able to do a power bomb on somebody as big as Braun Breaker.
That's strength. You can go to the gym, you can lift weights. Kevin Hart can bench press 250 pounds, man, because he can lift like that. He can. You can look it up.
Kevin Hart
can bench press 250. He's strong as shit. But if a 230-pound dude is running at Kevin Hart at full speed and he runs into Kevin Hart, the big guy shouldn't fall down, mate.
No, he's gonna spear Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart should get knocked 10 feet away. He's strong to lift and push and do shit, but physics is gonna take over.
I see what you're saying. Suspension of disbelief.
Right.
I will also say this. Aside from that part, I thought the match was solid, but I knew it was the end when Tyler breaks.
Besides that,
I think that was the overall point of Worlds Collide, which was kind of disappointing for me.
As soon as he jumped off the ropes and Braun, and I told you, He's a mix of Rick Steiner and his Uncle Scott, and with a little bit of Goldberg. And I warned Regina. I told you. He got a spear compared to Goldberg. He pulls that out. Tyler Bates might be in trouble. What happened?
He pulled out the spear.
And about killed Tyler Bates. I was like, oh, it's over. And I even said it out loud. I said, it's over. Count it. 1.
I'm getting to the point where I want to ban the spear though. I want to ban the spear though. So many people use it now. Charlotte, Lashley, Roman.
Yeah.
Ron,
so what? If it's effective, who cares?
You know what? You know who normally uses the spear though? If you notice, is usually the athletes who come from the athletic background. Like Roman came from
a different finisher. If y'all gonna work in the same company,
usually
use something different, man. Use something different.
Usually it's people that come from like especially football
players. Yeah.
Here's the difference though.
Goldberg.
He actually, not only does he use his as a finisher, his is actually believable. Like when Roman does his, I'll be like, most of the time his looks soft as hell.
Yeah.
Or Edge, Edge is another one. That's 5 people using the same finisher.
Yeah. Edge,
and when you use the same finisher, it cheapens. That's why only.
Let me tell you about Edge, man. Edge. I mean, I love seeing Edge do the spear, but it depends on who's selling it because sometimes that looks soft as hell, man.
When Braun does his, I actually believe the match is over.
It's like literally having a Mack truck hit you square in the chest.
All I'm gonna say is this: Mage, there's a reason only Taker was allowed to do the tombstone.
Because
if
Taker
everyone
was
else
tall.
was doing the tombstone, it wouldn't have been special.
No, it's not even that. It's because that Taker had enough height to where when he has you by your shoulders, holding you up, he goes down. You have at least maybe a good 2 or 3 feet of clearance to where it will not hit your neck. If you're too short,
well, that's
and you're not high enough, you can break
later
someone's
on
neck.
When they had all that medical stuff. But even back then, you didn't see multiple guys doing the same finisher.
I get your point that like you wear out a finisher if
everyone's using it. Yeah, look at the Canadian Destroyer now. That shit doesn't look special no more. Or the DDT.
It's not even a finisher no more. It's just a
finisher no more. Everybody using this shit.
Setup now, man.
It's now known as the Sunset Flip, even though it's still the Canadian Destroyer.
Yeah.
But it's still one of my favorite moves. I don't care. It's still one of my favorite moves.
I will say this: if he really wanted.
Brian need a new finisher.
Hold on. I'm going to be a little funny here.
The finisher besides the spear, he's got that.
I'm going to be a little funny here.
A setup, yeah.
Yeah, he's got the military presence and slam, which he took that from Goldberg too. Here's one, and this would actually really broken Regina's heart. And part of me that's a little sadistic did kind of want that. After he did the spear, he pulls down the straps, drags the center of the ring, and he puts Tyler Bates in the Steiner recliner, which he has won matches with before.
The only thing that worries me is I don't know if Braun can consistently use that military press slam on the main roster because the guys are big. You know, when you're benching guys
I think the biggest guy
205, that's one thing.
The biggest guy he did that to was Walter.
I think honestly, for Braun, if he wants a solid finisher, I think to keep because everybody does the spear. I think for him, he should do the spear, and then he picks the guy up, like you said, brings it to the center ring, and puts him in the Steiner recliner, and then they choke out or they tap out.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because we haven't seen the Steiner recliner used since his uncle did it, so it makes sense.
Yeah, he's only used it one time that I've seen, and that was when he won the title against Tommaso Ciampa.
So
that's the only time he's used it.
Edge kind of gets.
I honestly thought he was going to go to the main roster, but
yeah,
everybody used that shit now, man.
Everybody thought. I'll be honest. I said if Tyler Bates wins, Braun Breaker's probably heading to the main roster.
That's what I thought he was going to do, but I guess they're going to keep him down there for a while. But my question is, now that NXT UK is no more, and I know they're going to do NXT Europe or WWE Europe, something, I don't know. what is going to happen to all the UK talent?
Well,
Are they gonna move them?
A lot of them got released, and some they're still bringing over. Like the bigger names, they kept them and got released.
What's funny
it doesn't
is
make
no
any
one's
sense to have a European type.
Now. Usually people get released and yeah.
I mean, they'll probably bring them back when they do NXT Europe, but a lot of them got released. From what I heard, like the
released and the sky is falling down.
Sky's falling down.
But yeah,
people giving trips passes, man. People giving trips passes.
No,
that's all I'm saying.
I've already said this about trips. People need to stop treating him like he's the second coming of Jesus. He's not. The
same treatment they gave Tony Khan for 2-3 years. Trips is getting right now. He's the shiny new toy.
Okay, I can't really argue with that.
Remember that comment I made about everybody shitting on AEW? It's continuing.
Yeah, that's bullshit. They need to leave Tony Khan alone. It's not Tony Khan's fault that the talent can't get in there and do what the fuck they're paid to do.
Yeah, I mean,
for everything.
Yeah.
Now everybody is shitting on AEW. It's like, come on, man.
No, Trips is back. Oh my gosh, everything is gonna be great. Fault. You guys forget he thinks like Vince too. Except he doesn't go to like the lengths that he goes to, like stuck in the 80s. But he has similar thoughts and he thinks just like Vince in a certain way. So people need to quit. People really do need to quit acting like he's the second coming of Jesus. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not, by no means. But I guess to try to wrap this up, which pay-per-view with you and Prince do you think was better? Worlds Collide or Clash in the Castle?
I'm gonna go with Clash at the Castle. Sheamus and Gunther. Sheamus and Gunther, man. That's better.
That was definitely
and Seth and Matt Riddle. Like I said, I have my gripes with it, but the overall what happened in the ring, you can't really go up against. So yeah, give me Clash at the Castle. If I had to pick one to watch.
If I had to pick one of the two cards, even though I enjoyed both of them, sentimentally, I would go with NXT Worlds Collide. But if I had to be honest, probably Clash at the Castle. And that's despite the way it ended. Despite the way it ended, it just had a bigger feel. Sheamus, Gunther pretty much put it over the top. I think that was the best match on any card this weekend. Mm-hmm. I would gamble probably the best match concerning AEW.
Honestly, me and Nate looked at All Out. There was not a match on All Out that was better than Sheamus versus Gunther. I'm sorry, it was not.
There was one.
Maybe the only one that came close was the Trios match. The Trios match was good.
Yeah.
The Trios match was good.
The Trios match was a great introduction to a new title. And even though the ladder match was red hot, the finish is what drained the entire pay-per-view. But when it comes to all three that me and Laurel saw, I have to say it's Worlds Collide. I think Worlds Collide was better because I can't give like a high praise to Clash and Castle because the women's matches were kind of mediocre and you didn't really care much for them. Even though you had that one match of the night with Sheamus and Gunther, the main event was just it was hyped up to be so high, but it just didn't reach that. It didn't reach those heights.
I see your frat comment, Prince.
I guess Laurel and Regina is on the side of Worlds Collide. Me and Prince are more Clash of the Castle. Despite the way it ended. Which I do agree, the way it ended kind of brought it down a bit.
Yeah, not to mention AEW had far too many matches on the card. AEW had 14 matches on the card. It was way too long. Some of the matches dragged. The opener really did kind of set the tone for it being down here. Even though the trios match was amazing, they tried to bring up the fire. And the women's matches actually were pretty good. It wasn't enough to bring back that energy in the crowd. The crowd was already.
I can't bury him balloon for once. This is the one time I can't bury her.
Nah, that
match. Bury him balloon on this one.
me, I think I'm kind of with Nate. I think I have to go with Worlds Collide, even though I think that was the overall best show that I saw this weekend. It wasn't perfect, but I think overall, I think that's the show I had the most fun with.
It had the most heart too because it was the swan song for NXT UK.
Yeah.
So if you were a fan of NXT UK and you had to see all your favorite wrestlers, that was it. They were done. It was heartbreaking. Like with Tyler Bate, I was heartbroken.
Yeah,
but
and
it was still really
I think Clash at the Castle. Let me say this: what puts Worlds Collide just under Clash at the Castle to me was the women's matches
and the ending.
Yeah.
The women's matches, because the women's matches, which I thought going into this weekend were going to be weaker than the ones at Clash at the Castle, they proved me wrong. They actually were better than the two at the Clash at the Castle. Even though Shayna and Liv did surprise me.
Liv put in that work.
It was okay, you know. But
yeah. It was.
The thing is, when you see Bianca, Asuka, when you see that cast, you expect something great.
Yeah. It was barely average.
It was barely
average.
Plus, it was kind of beneath Bianca to even be in that match in the first place.
Yeah, Bianca, they need to build. I know they're going to have her feud with Bayley, but they need to give Bianca some more challenges, man. She was doing nothing but being paired with Alexa and Asuka these past few weeks.
Which, in all honesty,
nothing for her.
I meant to bring this up earlier. Every woman in that match shouldn't, and I know this means Bianca is an island to herself, but shouldn't they be trying to challenge Bianca? And that's including Alexa Asuka. Huh?
That's what I said earlier.
It kind of makes the Raw Women's title look worthless if Becky's not holding it. If you think about it, it makes the Raw Women's title look worthless if Becky's not holding it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just going to put your champion in a 6-woman tag, instead of having a feud.
One thing you could say when Becky Lynch was holding it, everybody was trying to get her. Even people who were heels.
Yeah.
But
now that Bianca has it,
everybody was trying to get Becky.
Well,
and now that Bianca has it, she hasn't been challenged that much.
And mileage. When we bring up there's more mileage in this person holding it rather than this person, you're seeing that with Bianca right now. There was more mileage in Becky having it.
Yeah.
But when she got injured, they would have, even if Becky would have went into that SummerSlam match as the Raw champion, they probably would have called the audible and gave it to Bianca
because she got injured.
Becky got hurt.
Yeah, so she would have ended up with the belt anyway. But I didn't mind that WrestleMania match though.
It's not really.
Other than Becky Lynch, she has not really had any memorable challengers.
Yeah, since she won it at WrestleMania 38. No, she hasn't had any memorable.
Yeah. Carmella, and it makes you almost wish, even though I said it was a bad idea at the time, makes you almost wish Liv would have tried to cash in on Bianca. Because her chasing Bianca probably would have been more interesting.
I still think that Liv should have had her moment
it should have been earlier.
But you know what? Rhonda, had to try to, put herself over with the people,
because in all honesty, the original plan
sucked.
You know what the original plan was? The original plan, Sasha Banks was supposed to win the Royal Rumble. Then she was going to take on Charlotte.
And finally get a win.
Probably still would have took on Bianca. We could have had 2 matches of the night with the women, but instead, Ronda came back. Vince McMahon got his dick hard for Ronda. Had her win the Royal Rumble, even though Ronda really didn't even want the belt back. She didn't mind working with Charlotte, but she didn't really want the belt back, which I sort of don't believe, given how narcissistic Ronda Rousey is.
Yeah.
Sort of don't believe that. And then they have their match, And honestly, Ronda was just going through the motions there. I mean, Charlotte was trying. I got to give her credit. She was trying, but it felt like she wasn't. And then Becky Lynch said, okay, watch this. I'm going to have the best match tonight with Bianca Belair, which she did. She ended up having the only match that outdid hers was her husband and Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Can we just say about that real quick before we wrap this up? Do you guys think that the whole thing with Cody Rhodes and Hell in a Cell and Seth Rollins, do y'all think that's overrated because of the fact that he was wrestling injured?
A little bit. A little bit. They overrated.
I'm gonna say everything Cody has done.
As someone who is, I've never torn a pec muscle, but I have hurt my chest muscle a little bit. Even just hurt, making it sore. You know, from doing push-ups and bench press, even making it sore. If you do a lot of it, it hurts.
He tore it off the bone.
I can't imagine working with a torn.
He tore it off the bone, and the more he wrestled, the darker it got.
Yeah.
It went straight down his arm. He was internally bleeding in this match.
I mean, for me,
they just love to ride Cody.
So just ask me this. For somebody who has an injury that bad to where he was internally bleeding with every move, do you honestly believe that he would win against Seth Rollins when he was injured like that?
They still won that match, by the way. I still think Rollins should have won that match.
It didn't make any sense for Cody to win. It didn't. He had so many odds against him.
If anything, granted, it didn't really hurt Seth that much. Seth is practically bulletproof now, but it did make him look bad a little bit.
It kind of did.
I mean, even Montez Ford clowned him on it. He was like,
and it wasn't even a title match. If it was a title match, it would have been worse. I think that match is overrated. I can't give it a 5-star. He was just wrestling injured, and that was stupidity on his end. That's why it takes so long.
That's what they do nowadays. They see Britt Baker bleeding. Oh my God, she's bleeding. Bleeding.
What Cody did was way. Let me tell you this: what Cody did was way more impressive than what Britt Baker did with Thunder Rosa.
Cody wrestled a match with a.
They give extra.
She just had like lacerations on her face. He tore an entire muscle off the bone.
Ruby Riott got her nose broke. 5 stars.
I don't know about that, Prince.
Yeah, but we've seen wrestlers wrestle with broken noses.
That's what I'm saying, though. You don't give extra points for someone getting hurt. Like, come on.
True.
True.
But what Cody did, it's kind of like what Triple H did. Finished the match with the torn quad.
Mm-hmm.
But
Becky got her damn face broken by
Nia. The thing is, with Triple H, it popped while he was wrestling.
Yeah.
It popped while he was wrestling. That's a different. Cody was injured working out. He got injured training.
Yeah.
He got injured training and then got in the ring when he had it completely torn. You can't tell me that's
did
a
the
smart
same
move.
thing.
Yeah.
Batista did the same thing.
Batista got injured training?
Yeah.
When they had to finish the match.
I'll say this though. You know what I'm waiting to see? Yes, I'm going to be a pro here. I wait for a wrestler to come in. To come in with injured nuts.
Oh gosh.
I don't think that's going to happen. If AJ didn't do
if he does even a 3-star match with injured Jules.
Okay. How about blown Jules? How about that? How about blown Jules? Irvin, you went there. How about blown Jules?
I think on that note, I think this is time.
We need to wrap it up.
All right, y'all.